What's up, everybody? This is episode 2 of the Sioux City Show. I'm hosting this thing. I'm Taylor Grote. Today in the studio, I got Tyson Sanchez.
Yep.
Tyson is the owner, operator. Are you the founder?
Yes, I am one of the founders.
One of the founders of Daga's Mexican Grill in
Yep.
Winnebago, Nebraska. One of my favorite Mexican restaurants. Before we even start, I have to apologize. At the end of the last episode with my sister, which hasn't come out yet, so Tyson can't hate me yet, I did give a shout out to La Momia on Nebraska Street in Sioux City for having what I think is the best burrito in Sioux City. It barely, in my opinion, barely edges out the Flamin' Hot Cheetos burrito from the Daga's Mexican Grill food truck. But I just got to apologize ahead of time. And I even said when I did it that I wasn't putting any other Mexican restaurants down at all. It's just like the most slept on burrito in Sioux City. Whenever anybody talks about Mexican food, that's not a restaurant that gets brought up.
That's the one in like the old Dairy Queen, right?
Yeah, 11th and Nebraska Street. So
I heard they got good tortas.
They really have great food, and I don't want to. I just want everybody to know about all of the good stuff that Sioux City has to offer.
Definitely.
I have you on because I absolutely love your food, love what you're doing, love your food truck. So go ahead and tell people about like kind of how the business started and all that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I own a little brick and mortar restaurant in Winnebago, Nebraska. It's about 15, 20 minutes away from Sioux City, outside of Sioux City. And originally, how this whole idea came about is, my father and I, we always wanted to retire my grandparents and stuff. They worked in meat packing plants for the longest time, John Morrell, Tyson, and they've busted their butt, and for 25, 30 years. And my grandma, she's an amazing cook. My uncle, Oscar, he's also a phenomenal cook. And we just wanted to do something that they could retire from, doing something that they love. And so that's kind of how Daga's came about. And it just made more sense to start a Mexican restaurant somewhere else because there's so much competition. I mean, you see all these Mexican places opening up everywhere in Sioux City and South Sioux City. So it's like, why not go into a market where there's absolutely nothing and capitalize on that and become a monopoly? And that's exactly what we did. And it was a huge success in Winnebago, Nebraska. It's growing tremendously, especially because of Lance Morgan, who's the CEO of HCI and Ho Chunk. So,
right, you guys are in a Ho Chunk building there, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean?
Like Ho Chunk owned, Ho Chunk developed.
Yeah. Yep.
The
We're the
company, not the tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So
and I've been there. It's a beautiful building, brand new. And is that apartments across the street in that red building, the modern looking one? Because that's another Ho Chunk project. That big
there's commercial space on the bottom and then apartments up on top. So Lance Morgan, I mean, he's doing great things for his community and also for Sioux City.
Right.
So
all around really. So that's somebody I guess I've had my eye on, like from being out. I'm not super involved in the business network of Sioux City, but just from going to the Sioux City Chamber dinners and all that, like seeing Lance talk is really like an idea of what a businessman can possibly be. So it's cool to see.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. I'm part of the Siouxland Chamber of Commerce as well, but I've never been to a dinner.
Oh,
Lance, I mean, he told me to go to this year's, but I just I don't know, I got to go to those. I hear those are pretty interesting and fun, and they got great speakers. I heard there was a great speaker this last time.
They had Rob ONeil this year, the guy who one of the I think 3 guys that said that he killed bin Laden. So which one of the 3 guys who say that they killed bin Laden is actually the guy who killed bin Laden is up in the air. But regardless, it's just like hearing that Navy SEAL story and hearing the insane amount of training that goes into the background before you ever get in that situation to be the guy going into the compound in Pakistan thinking that you're going to see Osama bin Laden on the other side of that door is insane.
That's got to be so trippy.
Right.
I mean, I wonder what that guy feels like. Seriously.
I don't know, man. I can't imagine. I didn't even realize that it's about... I'm going to screw these numbers up, but I think it's like 9 months of additional training to become a SEAL. I'm probably wrong on that. It's probably 3 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
But once you're a SEAL, you're not even on SEAL Team 6 yet. Like, that's not even a possibility. The SEAL Team 6 is like another 9 months to a year, I believe, of training where it's like the most intense, brutal conditions and situations imaginable, to the point where it's like 90% washout rate of people who are already Navy SEALs can't even make it on a SEAL Team 6 because it's so intense, which is hard to fathom that, like the most badass dudes in America can't make that additional bit of training to become the certified most badass dudes in America. So, anytime a guy like that is in a situation talking, I kind of consider myself to be in a situation where definitely I can learn something from a dude who has that kind of willpower, because it's not physical at that point. That's 100% mental willpower that gives you that 0.00001% edge over the other badasses that you're around every day. So
how long do you talk for?
I want to say he talked for over an hour, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was one of those deals where you listen to somebody talk for an hour and not at one point was I bored. It was
love those.
On the edge of your seat. And he didn't even really talk about, it wasn't about shooting Osama bin Laden. That's not what it was about. It was about the decisions and positions you put yourself in life to get yourself to the point where you're able to be that pivotal piece in like a way bigger network, And
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it was really cool. And I think the year before they had, I believe his name is Larry Page, a guy who was a Minnesota Viking and then made his way into being a Supreme Court justice, I think, for the state of Minnesota. I might be wrong, but it was a pretty cool story.
They need to get like Tony Robbins.
Yeah. They need to get Tony Robbins in there.
That'd be badass.
Yeah, Tony Robbins. I guess like they just need to have everybody in Sioux City go do a fire walk real quick.
Grant Cardone would be a good one.
Yeah. They have. It turns out to be more like, rather than go with like the business speakers, they tend to go more with like inspirational life story kind of guys.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's cool.
I mean, it makes sense. I guess, not everybody's business savvy, so to have something that could be moving for anybody is pretty good.
With Sioux City and business markets or business people in general skewing a little bit right, they tend to go like military. It seems like a lot of time. So they had Rob ONeil this year, and I think they had Marcus Luttrell, the guy from Lone Survivor, was on there or went and talked 3 years ago or something like that. So it's cool. I definitely recommend going. I've never been a part of the chamber, but I have been to 2 dinners.
So what type of food do they serve? I mean, is it fancy or is it like some high-V stuff?
It's fancy. It's like I believe the convention center has its own catering, so it's usually the steak or the chicken is the option. But
okay, yeah.
I guess actually bringing it back to Lance did brag this year about having a big say in what food was being served, and it was a great dinner. So
he should have got Dagas to cater.
Yeah,
Lance, come on.
What the hell?
I know.
Show some love to the Winnebago hometown boy.
Killing me,
right?
son. Killing me.
Yeah. So like I guess you mentioned that being outside of Sioux City was the best way to really get your feet planted and like start a business and build like a clientele from the beginning. Is it mostly is it Winnebago specifically that's coming in daily and supporting you, or is it Bancroft and what else is south? Pender is?
Yeah, you got Homer, you got Pender, you got Macy. You got Walt Hill. A lot of it is Winnebago, but I mean, Winnebago, they have the hospital, the HCI, they have their corporate office and stuff. So you get a lot of people from Sioux City that migrate to Winnebago for work. So I mean, we get a lot of people from all over, really.
Really cool.
So,
is there any restaurants in town besides you guys? Not that you guys have to shout out the competition.
We are. I mean, we are. And we are the only restaurant by itself. There's another little cafe called Sweetwater Cafe. I think they also have that in the Ho Chung Center.
Okay.
In downtown Sioux City. That's a HCI company. Then they have, it's a Native Star Casino. Mm-hmm. They have a restaurant in there. But that's like casino restaurant. But as far as like just a small business outsider, we're the only ones really.
Yeah, a spot to stop for like lunch or dinner. Or
yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So.
Yeah, and you guys also are in the process of, well, I guess even bringing it back farther, you have the food trucks, which is a big part of what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
And that's where probably I know I was introduced to what you're doing through the food truck, and most of Sioux City probably was as well, through Food Truck Fridays downtown. And now I understand that you guys have a second food truck that is about to start for 2018, right?
Yep. So yeah, that's a new project I'm working on right now. It's still being customized and stuff the way we want it. But it's good. Like I say on my social media platforms, it's going to be like In-N-Out style. It's going to be such a sick setup. I mean, we got these speakers that light up, neon lights. I mean, we're going to have lights below the food truck and stuff. And it's just going to be a really cool, different experience. And there's going to be burgers, fries, malts,
That's
stuff
awesome.
like
So
that.
like American diner,
American, yeah,
basically.
American.
Cool. You guys have a name for it yet?
No, I
Daga's
don't.
number 2. Yeah.
No, I see. I don't know. I wanted to. I did. Someone did post on my Facebook because I made a post about me having that new food truck and I need to figure out a name for it. Someone said Daga's In and Out, which I did kind of like, but I'm still not. I'm not sure yet.
Might be setting yourself up for a lawsuit on that one, huh?
Yeah, I don't
Cease
know.
and desist.
Yeah.
But actually, every time I say the name of your restaurant, people are like, I think it's called
Daga's.
Daga's. Because it does make sense. It is
Such
a
a
Mexican
pet
restaurant.
peeve.
So
It looks
you go
like
with
Daga's,
the
you know what I
Spanish
mean?
pronunciation, which is fair.
Yeah.
But what's the story behind the name?
Daga's. Well, it's okay. So obviously, I told you earlier that, we really wanted to start the restaurant to retire my grandparents doing something that they love, and my uncle Oscar, he's also a great cook, like I told you earlier, and for some reason, I don't know, it just stuck with us. Daga's, it means uncle Native American, and so since my uncle's the second best cook in the family, we just figured we would just go with that, and it just seemed right. I mean, I can't really
I dig it.
pinpoint how it came about, and we also wanted to incorporate the Native American culture, with our Hispanic culture, because we didn't want to seem like outsiders, and so that's why Daga's is Uncle Native American, and then you got Mexican Grill for our culture. So I don't know.
That's cool. It gets
It just worked out. I mean, whatever.
One name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So are you from Sioux City originally?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Born and raised.
Went to high school at
North High.
Okay.
Yeah. Graduated in 2011.
Yeah. And that's about when you and I met in 2012, was it? 2011, 2012?
I think it was 2012.
Okay. Tyson and I lived
in
across,
Iowa City.
Yeah, lived across the
with
hall
the
from each
peeper.
other. Yeah. Yeah.
Peeping Landlord. Can we talk about
Yeah,
that?
definitely. I don't care.
Like
we can even say the dude's name. The
Gosh.
dude's name was Gene Miller.
Oh my
and
gosh, this guy.
definitely drilled holes into the ceiling of my bathroom, and Tyson and his girlfriend at the time's bathroom, and there's 2 other apartments on the top floor of that building, and apparently this dude had drilled holes into the ceiling of every bathroom and was watching the tenants shower, and I happened to be, when he got caught, I was out of the country. I was in
Yeah, you were in
Kuwait.
the military.
I was in Kuwait. So first of all, when he got caught, I thought I was rich. I was like, oh my God, finally I get a lawsuit. And the way the law is written in Iowa, which oppresses me in this situation, it's impossible for you or I to have sued him for anything.
Oh yeah.
Men can't be peeping toms on men. It's impossible. There's no way to prosecute that in Iowa. However, what ended up happening legally with the women on the floor? Do you know?
I have no idea, honestly. My girlfriend at the time, like we just both decided like we just wanted to be done with it because it was going to take years to kind of prosecute him, go after him, and get some type of reward from it. So I'm not quite sure. I really didn't follow up with the story, but I know that was one of the biggest peeping landlord cases in Iowa. So I'm not sure. I know he maybe did some jail time. If I can remember reading an article.
I think he did like 30 days or something like that. But I do know
some fines.
This is so crazy because the way the law was written, and like you said, it was like one of the biggest landlord cases at the time, was that he didn't get in that much trouble. He was still allowed to own all the properties that he'd been drilling holes into. He didn't get. I definitely didn't get anything from it. You guys didn't.
I mean, I think we got a few months for free rent.
That's kind of what we did too.
I mean, you know what I mean? He wasn't. What's he gonna do? He's gonna come after us?
Yeah.
And we're just like,
that was kind of the situation I was in.
Let's kind of take
as well.
advantage a little bit. I mean, this guy did look at my wiener, right? So I mean, I deserve at least one month of free rent.
Yeah, and I was like, for the longest time. Okay, so growing up, I was, as all little kids do, I had some of the dumbest ideas in my head, and one of them, which for some reason I don't think I ever asked anybody about for 5 years, was that I thought that, when you're peeing in public at the like urinals or toilets that have like the automatic flush, and there's the red light that flashes to like, it's the sensor.
Oh yeah.
Right. For the longest time, I thought that little black space in the red light was
a camera?
Was a camera. And I was just super cool with it, but I just assumed that like there was cameras that were just making sure that like people were using the toilets and I was, peeing right in front of it. So it wasn't a huge upset to my system that some guy actually did watch me.
And the weird part about it is like he reminded me just of like a grandpa, someone that's welcoming,
Super nice.
good-hearted, super nice, super polite. I mean, someone that you felt like you could trust, and then next thing you know, I mean, he's got holes everywhere at all his, different locations, and just...
So that did two things for me. Number one, I really wasn't that worked up about him, the idea of him
I wasn't
watching
either.
me
I'm
in
like,
the bathroom.
wow, okay.
I did, whatever, dude. If you wanted to, it was probably worth it in the long run, getting a couple free months rent out of that whole deal. But
true,
you know,
especially
if
with
he
the
would've
cost of living in Iowa City.
Yeah, if he would have told me, I would have drilled a hole in the ceiling for him. Just let me live here for free. You can watch. I don't care. Just don't make any noise when you're up there. I don't want to know. But he, I do, I think a lot of guys are quick to say that girls are being over dramatic about how creepy some guys are. And, if you're not the kind of guy who's drilling holes in bathroom ceilings of apartment complexes, you're probably not super well versed to that whole world of type of guys. And it kind of made me go, a lot of girls have a point with how creepy dudes are, because that is about as creepy as it gets. Like, if I hadn't been there and met him and known, and it's like...
Do you know how he got caught?
Yeah. Go ahead and tell the story.
Okay, all right. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy because it was just... I remember... well, actually, let me tell you my experience, that whole day. That whole day was kind of chaotic. So I went to class. I think I was in, like, accounting class. Pretty sure, which thank the Lord that kind of happened because it got me out of there.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember my girlfriend at the time, she texted me and she was just like, Tyson, you need to call me ASAP. She kept blowing up my phone. So I went out of the classroom and I called her, and, obviously she was hysterical, and there was a detective on the phone saying, hey, look, your landlord was peeping on you. You need to come over here ASAP. So I drive over there. There's cop cars everywhere. It's just like, what the heck's going on? I was so lost. And anyways, I was sitting down with the detective, and the detective told me that it would have been it's the unit to your apartment, I think it was.
Right next, because there's only four apartments on the whole top floor.
Yeah. So
you lived across the hall
Yeah,
from
so
me.
to the left of us, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
The chick living next to you, she was taking a shower, and she actually saw the hole when she moved in, so she just put a cotton ball right up in the hole in the ceiling. And it's crazy because when she got in the shower and she was hopping out, she saw the cotton ball fell on the ground, and so when she noticed it was on the ground, she looked up at the ceiling, and then she heard a noise up there in the attic, and then, you know what I mean? And then she went out in the hall and she saw her landlord coming down the ladder, and she kind of put two and two together, and she was like, are you effing peeping on me?
Yeah. And that
And
dude
he was
was always
just
up there,
super
too.
red.
That dude was always up there.
Always.
Yeah. I didn't...
I feel stupid for not knowing.
What an idiot, right? Because I was like... And first of all, I think when he got caught, like, the one thing you got to give the dude is that right away he was like, yeah, I did it, right? When he got caught by the cops, he was like, yeah, I did it. So, because it would have been... He could have just as easily called that girl a liar, right? And said that she was making it all up and whatever. And so it was kind of a stand-up move to admit to being a piece of shit in that situation. But he did only say that he'd like started doing it in August of that year. And that was definitely there when I moved in the August of the year prior. And he was definitely in the attic that entire year. But when I'd first moved into that apartment, and then I was out of the country from May to December of that year. So I wasn't around for that whole second deal, and I would have had no interaction with him from the time that he said that he started doing it for the first time. So that was definitely
he admitted that he was doing it for years.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I might have got some bad information on that, because
so there's numerous of people that used to live in his apartment complexes and duplexes that have no idea he was peeping on them, and they'll never know because he'll never admit to it.
Yeah.
Why would he? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess.
So he just admitted to the people that were recently living there, to the cops.
Yeah, that's
Crazy.
There's like this whole thing where people always hear a story like this and they say something along the lines of, well, what is this world coming to? This is, I can't believe that this is how things are going now, and this is such an outrage. But that dude's been doing that for years, right? And he was probably that same, and there was the same type of guys were doing that stuff in the 70s, same type of guys were doing that in the 80s, 90s, all the way up till today. Like, there's been, like, that creepy dude has always existed. And it's just, now you know about it because of social media. Before, you weren't watching the Iowa City news at home in Sioux City, so... people didn't find out about everything going on in the world as much, but that was wild. That was wild to like be a part of, and it's crazy. It's kind of like it's a good story to tell people every once in a while, right? It's a good icebreaker for new friends. But yeah. So when you moved back to Sioux City, what would have been 2012, 2013 was when you moved back here?
I think so. I don't know. I can't remember.
So I guess I just kind of knew you in passing when we lived across the hall in Iowa City. I was kind of out doing my own thing for most of the time, but I know you now as like a driven dude who's 24, owns a restaurant, is really involved in the day-to-day. Yeah, all that. So
make shit happen.
What kind of made you do all of that in Sioux City rather than the common thing is like, oh, I'm a go-getter, I'm gonna go to Chicago, or I'm gonna go to LA, whatever it is. Like, what made you do it in Sioux City, or even specifically Winnebago?
I think I had a lot of resources here, and it just made sense. My father, he's an entrepreneur himself, and so I just had a lot of leverage, and I had a good network here, and I knew I could really take advantage of it and build something great here. And so that's kind of why I chose that, really.
Yeah.
Especially because I have that support system and mentors, that I knew would help me, rather than go to, let's say, Chicago, and it's kind of all me by myself and everyone else that could possibly help me and all my resources. You go into a new market, it's all you. You know what I mean? You don't really have anybody.
Unless you can, like, get that college connection that you move into or whatever.
No, you have no network to work with, so.
That's precisely the reason that I'm in Sioux City, so. Yeah. So, your dad's successful. I don't really know your dad too much, but I just know from you telling me. Is he's from Sioux City originally? Is your grandparents from Sioux City originally?
Yeah, so my grandparents, they're from Jalisco, Mexico. My dad, he was born in California, and then, they just all migrated here, really. And so my dad's lived here for years.
That's
ever
cool.
since he was, I don't know, in school, grade school, so, yeah.
That's cool to have, like, that, like, successful immigrant story, like...
And it's nuts because... I really look up to my dad in so many different ways. He's taught me so much, not only just in entrepreneurship, but also, personal stuff and whatnot. But my grandparents, when they came to the state, they were dirt poor. They had nothing.
People usually don't move to America because they're killing it in their home country.
Yeah, exactly. So what's really amazing about my dad is he didn't come from a wealthy family. He came from a family with no money. When I'm talking my grandparents were poor, it's super, super poor to the point where they might have, taken a couple things from the Dollar General. So it's awesome that, he's
we're
created
well outside
what
the
he has.
statute of limitations from the Dollar General theft. So good, go ahead. Yeah.
So it's cool, to have someone like that be able to mentor me and show me the way. So.
And how cool for your, it's so hard to like even fathom being. When we're from America and both of us were, born into situations where our families were all right, that middle class lifestyle, right? And to not have to ever resort to the idea that, hey, the only way so that we can really improve our lives and the lives of our kids and grandkids is to start from nothing, move to another country, build everything back up, which is at some point in history, unless you're like, some old New England or Dutch people, like everybody here has that same like original origin story, but it's cool. I think like I don't have any connection on. I don't really even know who like my great grandparents were that moved to America, but to have that connection so that your parent or your grandparents who like did sacrifice, did make that like leap of faith, are able to see not only that they were able to build a life for themselves, but that they were able to make a decision which ultimately resulted in your dad being successful and then their grandson being successful. So like that sacrifice did pay off, and they're able to see that, and like and you're able to like see the people who made that sacrifice to get you in the situation where you're at, which is super cool.
Yeah, I know my grandparents really do see that a lot, especially because, I mean, we give so much back to them. I mean, more than they even expect, you know, and it's just cool to see their faces light up. And my grandma just, you know, during Christmas time or her birthday, you know, obviously we give her some money, and she just, you could just tell, you know, she's just proud of my dad and my uncles and me and stuff and what we're doing for them. So
that's so cool.
It's nice. I get emotional sometimes thinking about it. So
Did they move? Did they move here together?
Yeah.
Already married? Did they have any kids when they moved, or was it like, you know?
Yeah, they had 3 boys.
Okay.
So they have 3 sons.
Cool. I mean, like, so your dad was born in California.
Yeah.
Right. Did they have any kids when they were living in Mexico before coming to America?
No.
Okay.
No.
Cool.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Yeah. It's every time I hear like the, you know, people coming to America and like being able to like see the payoff of that big sacrifice is super cool for me. Yeah. Or not super cool for me. Super cool for me to hear, I guess. I was born here. Yeah. Awesome. So, do you have brothers, sisters?
Yeah, I got 2 sisters actually. My sister, she just turned 18 yesterday. I got another little sister, a little brother, so they're around 10 years old. I'm not quite sure how old they are. I don't know if that makes me a shitty brother or
you lose track, right?
Honestly, you do.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. Like, I feel like the older you get, the faster time goes. Honestly, like I don't even. Yeah. I mean, it's nuts because I feel like years becomes months, months becomes weeks, weeks becomes days, days become hours, hours become like minutes, and minutes become seconds.
Right. I was talking to my girlfriend about this last night, because do you remember being like 5, 6 years old and like Christmas came, right? And the day after Christmas, you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm ever, like, it feels like forever until I get to experience that again. And then, like, Christmas comes again, and it's, like, the biggest thing you can imagine, right? And it's because, like, 1/5 of your life is what you're waiting for. You know, you've only done 1/5. So time becomes relative to, like, how old you are.
Yep.
And I remember as a kid having a cat that was, like, 14 years old, being like, whoa, that cat lived forever. But now I have a Doberman who is turned 6 months old in like 2 weeks, and I like had the realization yesterday that Doberman's like a 10-year-old Doberman dying is like not unexpected, right? Like if you're lucky, your Doberman makes it to 13 years old. Yeah. And I had the realization yesterday that like my dog might have lived 1/20th of his life already, and I'm not ready to face that fact. So it's just crazy how much the time changes, like the concept of time as you get older.
Time is everything, you know. Like I always tell people, it's like if you do not waste time, time will waste you. That is the biggest truth, I feel like, ever. You know, people I have a lot of people that tell me, hey, you work too much, you do this, you do that, you know. But it's like people don't understand, like you're not promised tomorrow. Like I don't know my time on earth, you know. I don't have a lot of time, so I want to, you know, I guess do the best I can while I'm here, you know, and try to leave a legacy really for my daughter.
Yeah. It's extremely easy to let it get away from you, too. It's very easy to say soon. Soon is the enemy of progress, right?
Yeah.
Because soon's not definite. Like I'm the type of dude that I have to set a deadline for myself, or else it's not happening. If I say I'm going to do that soon, it's never going to happen.
Well, you need goals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Otherwise, you don't know where you're going.
So do you do goal setting?
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yes.
Cool. How do you break it down? Like I know that there's a whole bunch of different like methods and theories to goal setting. So how do you do it?
Well, you know, simply, you know, first off, I write kind of like what I want. You know what I mean? What do I want to achieve? Let's say for 2018 right now, I'm doing a lot of different goal settings, you know. Just write everything that I want to accomplish in 2018, and I kind of almost like outline, like almost like a timeline, like what do I got to do? Not necessarily be so detailed, but just have a deadline. Like this is the day, this is the month that I need to get this particular thing done. You know what I mean? And I just do it as a timeline. Really. You know?
So how do you prioritize what makes it as a goal for you? Because for me, I know that when I was starting out with being a young professional, being 20 years old, when it's like time to really get serious and start making a plan for what you're going to do in life, like for me at first, it was monetary. It was how do I make $50,000 in a year? You know, when you're 20, like that's a good goal to set, right? How do I make $50,000 in a year? But then I really felt my own personal finish line change from what's monetary, like what is a number that I want to hit, to what's a feeling that I want to have, right? What does success feel like for me? Is it being fulfilled creatively? Is success a money number? Is it that I'm able to help people, right? So I found for me, it's like really being engaged creatively and feel like I'm making something that I can be proud of, that's like authentically me, while also finding a way to give back to people is like what my success is. So then I try and reverse engineer like what the end goal for the feeling is, and then how do I make that feeling happen, right? And for me, like this podcast it's not monetary. It's certainly not monetary. It's
not yet.
It's definitely like I'm excited about being able to talk to,
about it.
I'm passionate about talking to people who I find interesting, and I'm also trying to like find a way to give people who I find interesting a voice to be able to, you know, reach a larger audience who, like, you know, I don't think that running the restaurant, the food truck, like you're going to have a ton of time to put out long form podcasts in between all that, right? So how do you really like prioritize what you want to do, what you want to accomplish going into like the new year specifically? So if it feels like there was a weird jump there, I did have to grab a new battery for my camera. I got it fixed, and we're back to it. We're talking about goal setting.
Yeah, goal
setting.
So
what do your goals look like going into 2018? Are they financial?
Yeah, financially, I mean, obviously financially, I want to make more. You know, I mean, who doesn't want to make more? You know, and, you know, I have certain marks that I want to hit throughout the year and stuff, and like I was telling you kind of earlier, it's just I make a timeline, you know, what needs to be done and what do I want to accomplish. And, you know, also, you know, for family, you know, that's a big one I'm working on. You know, sometimes we get caught chasing money and stuff, you know, so in 2018, I definitely want to block out a specific time in my week to just have it for my daughter, you know, so we can definitely develop a better relationship and stuff. So I mean, an entrepreneurship, it's a lifestyle, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's tricky, you know, I think, I mean, every successful person they say different things on how they prioritize and how they,
the CEO routine,
you know what I mean?
It's different. Yeah.
It's very hard to really say, to be honest.
Cool. Well, that's about, as long as you like recognize, like, I want to improve, you know, I want to improve my benchmarks. So do you create like, you know, I've listened to, there's a dude, Kevion Sturdivant is on the Short Story Long podcast that I heard a couple months ago. And it really like rang true. Like he's a real estate agent for Keller Williams, I believe. Yeah, Keller Williams. And you know, I'm really not into like the self-help scene. It's not something that like I really identify with. I think that it's really easy to say motivational things a lot of times, right? But he was big on taking actionable steps to really get to a goal. So like when you're goal setting, saying what your final goal is important, but writing down the 5 things you can do to get you to that goal and holding yourself accountable to do those 5 things.
Well, having a skeleton, an outline of how to get there. Yeah. But I mean, it's not always going to be,
absolutely,
you know, exactly, you know, so I don't know.
That's, I mean, for me,
there's always roadblocks, obstacles, barriers, things that, you know, are going to come in your way.
Yeah. In 2015, 2016, maybe 2016, I was hired for a job in the Air Force, which was like my dream job, right? Like this was what I had been hoping to do since I had gotten into the Air National Guard. And it was like finally got selected, was going through the physical process, and like something stupid and like unexpected came up in the physical process that disqualified me for that job. And it was, but I could still keep my job that I was already doing in the Air Force. It was no big deal, right? It was really not, big picture wise, it wasn't a huge setback. Nobody would worry too much about it. But for me, it was like I saw the mountaintop and I saw what I wanted to do, and like all that was taken away. And so it was like, then I felt like I was doing my second place job at that point. And it just was not exciting for me at that point. Like, I can't do that next thing. Yeah. There was the finish line. It turned the finish line into in the future to, I guess I'm standing on it at this point. Right. And it took away like what I was hoping to work towards in the future. So I got out of the Air National Guard. Like I was no longer chasing anything. I couldn't do it. And that propelled that decision to make the Air Force my career into doing this creative job that I've kind of made for myself. And like it started out, it sucked. I went and worked overnight at a news station, working midnight to 8 a.m. and did that for a year. Hated my life. I don't know if you've ever worked a graveyard shift, but having to base every day around a sleep schedule is unbelievable. I was also in like a new relationship with my girlfriend where I'm trying to work from midnight to 8 a.m. And then I was trying my hardest to get to sleep right after work every day, which is tough because you got that like day adrenaline, Mm-hmm. So I'd usually be able to fall asleep by noon was the goal. If I could fall asleep by noon, I was good. But then I also wanted to wake up by 5 p.m. so I could hang out with my girlfriend after work. And she likes to go to bed. She's not some psychopath that likes to go to bed at 1 a.m. every night and go to work at 8 a.m. So I was trying to wake up at 5 p.m. and then be able to hang out with her until she went to bed at 10. And it was unbelievably awful. And it was like for the first year of my life, like I was gonna make a career in video, and it was the biggest gut check of wait, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to do this? And I was working for $10 an hour doing the worst job I've ever had, and I was 20.
You said at a news station, right?
Yeah, I was 25 at this time. So it was the least money I'd ever made in my life. I was delivering my first real job was delivering pizzas at 18, where I was, on I was paying taxes at 18, and I was definitely making more money than $10 an hour. So it was, it really like forced me to dedicate myself and be like, all right, this is what I want to do. But during that time, I found out about this dude, Gary Vaynerchuk. Do you know Gary?
Yeah, Gary.
Yeah, Gary
he's a
V's.
badass.
Oh, dude, right? And that kind of listening to his podcast, listening to all the content that he was putting out online at the time, and I was working overnights by myself, sitting in a cubicle, editing videos, getting ready for the morning news, and listening to his stuff about if you hate what you're doing, do something else. Like, and if just stopping what you're doing and like quitting and doing your own thing isn't feasible financially, or because you got family, whatever it is, then you have time. If you watch an episode of Netflix and you're complaining about the job you have right now, then you wasted your time watching that that show on Netflix, and you can't say a damn thing about what you hate about your life until you take the steps to change it, right? Yeah. And that really changed the game for me. I grew up, like, I was super blessed to have a dad who was not afraid to. He never sugarcoated anything for me. Growing up, like in high school is when I really got into the camera stuff, and I wanted to, and I was always making videos on YouTube, putting them on YouTube, spending countless hours doing it. And this was like, pre-smartphone, so you had that real time back in those days. Yeah. And my dad was like, I don't know why you're wasting all your time on this, but if you want to do this for a job, he's like, I don't know how you think you're going to make money on it, but if you want to do it for your job, you better dedicate yourself to this and do it 1,000 times better than anybody else and work 1,000 times harder than anybody else is willing to work at it. And it was like super helpful to have that instilled in me from like that high school age, right? Because it was never, a lot of parents, there's two types of parents. There's like that, or there's two other types of parents that are going to say, you're an idiot, go be an accountant. That's the only thing that's really going to make you money, and that's what's in money is what's going to make you happy. And then there's the parent who is like, yeah, you can make videos. People will love your videos. Just go do that for a job. You know, who kind of like that rainbow in the sky look. And I was like, I'm super thankful looking back on it to have had a dad who was willing to listen to my kind of pie in the sky ideas and then put like that gut check into it where it's like, yeah, you can do that. But you got to work 1,000 times harder than anybody else is willing to work. That's the difference between an idea and a reality.
Exactly.
Is the work that comes in. And
work ethic is huge.
I
You
feel
know what
like
I mean?
I get
Like,
that. You have that same thing going on with your dad, which is super
Yeah.
cool to see.
Yeah.
And like, because I've seen your dad's store, his whole compound
Yeah.
with all of his
Yeah,
equipment
yeah,
out
yeah.
there, which is cool. Did you have like any like defining moments growing up that like really made you go, oh, now I get it, whether it be good or bad?
Are you talking about like as far as entrepreneurship or what? Do
Yeah, I mean, just because like for me that looking back and seeing that my dad wasn't telling me to stop making YouTube videos. It was, yeah, you can do this, but you got to outwork everybody else. Like that was what really drove it home for me immediately. And
I think that's what a lot of people lack is their work ethic. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. It's kind of cracks me up. You know, Christmas obviously it just passed, but you know there's so many people that are telling me they're like, yeah, I'm getting ready for Christmas, and I was like, dude, there's 20 days before Christmas is here. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean you're getting ready? Like you have to spend 20 days like mentally prepping yourself to get ready for Christmas. Like if you're complaining that you're broke right now, you need to be out there, you know, working your ass off, you know, staying up day in and day out, doing whatever you got to do to get yourself out of the situation. But yeah, I mean, people, they watch Netflix, they're just distracted.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like people say one thing, but they do the other.
Yeah. Which, you know, having that like pastime, you know, something to release your like.
I call them dreamers.
Yeah,
There's a lot of dreamers out there, and there's a difference. You know, I'm a dream chaser. You know, most people are dreamers, and they dream about, you know, having more money and having this and creating this, you know, particular lifestyle, but they don't go after it, and they make excuses. You know what I'm saying?
Can I have you move this mic just a little bit closer to you?
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely do know what you're saying. Probably just pick up the bass there.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
You're not
There.
hearing me too well? Or what?
You're just getting drifting a little bit away from it.
Okay.
Just with leaning back, but we're good. But yeah, I definitely do notice that with, and I think that there's also like the culture right now is it's never been cooler to be an entrepreneur, right? And everybody who's ever like made their own beat on their computer now says that they're the CEO of their own beat production company, right?
Yeah.
And you know, also Gary V's like a killer. Gary Vaynerchuk is a killer with that common sense advice. Like he really creates like clear tips on how to like change your life and your career or whatever, which I kind of dig. But there's like that. He also has that like hustle mode, you know, talking about hustle. And I think that a lot of people have misinterpreted what hustling really is. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not, hustling isn't posting a picture on your Instagram and saying like, all I do is work.
Yeah.
Because the people who really all they're doing is working generally aren't the dudes posting about it on Instagram, right? It's, you know, it's one thing to promote what you're doing.
Oh yeah, you got to market yourself and promote.
As far as you and
Social media is huge, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, you have a lot of fakers out there.
Yeah, it's just I guess that's what social media has done is created like platforms for people to like subvert. A lot of times. Yeah, and then it's also created platforms for people to just lie about what they're doing. But you know, everybody's lying on social media in some form, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's painting their perfect life to a certain extent. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild seeing like a dude who's you know 24, just like I feel like you're killing it in the restaurant game, which I'm sure you know success always looks like the grass is always super green when you're looking from the outside. I'm sure there's a lot of late nights that I've never seen.
Well, yeah, I mean there's a lot of stuff that people don't see, you know, and I mean whether it be with the business or personal stuff, you know, I mean everyone has struggles. You know, I feel like on social media, everybody thinks my life is perfect. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he's super young. He's living a lifestyle. He has, you know, money, this, blah, 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 blah. But they don't understand behind the scenes, you know? You know, and a lot of people, they ask me, they're like, well, you know, how'd you get to where you're at? Well, I just do the shit that nobody wants to do. You know what I mean? And when you do the stuff that nobody wants to do, you can have the things that they can't have.
Yeah.
You know? So when you're, you know, watching Netflix, or when you're going out and drinking at the bars, or, you know, spending your money by shopping, you know, I'm grinding, I'm hustling, you know?
Yeah.
I'm out there doing whatever I got to do to get to the next level.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I feel like there's really no secret to success. I feel like it's just you got to be consistent. You got to be able to persevere and just have a good hard work ethic.
Yeah. Just to like throw it back to Gary Vaynerchuk again. The like one thing that really stuck with me that dude said in like the last year was he had I think some kids that were from kind of like a lower income high school, like a disadvantaged area from like Pittsburgh or something like that, come into his office. And he held up a cell phone and he said, if I could show you a video right now of your ideal life in 12 years, like whatever your wildest dreams in 12 years, what does your ideal life look like, right? If I could show you a video of that and tell you that all you have to do to live that life, and this is the life you're going to live in 12 years, the only thing you got to do is work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week for the next 12 years. And never take time off, never get lazy, never let the ball drop.
Yeah.
He said, I guarantee you that you'd work that 12 hours a day, 6 days a week for the next 12 years because you know that that's on the other side.
Yeah.
But I don't have to show you that video. If you are willing to put in that kind of work and chase your dreams relentlessly, you're going to live that ideal life. And that ideal life is probably going to change. I know my ideal life has definitely changed from, 12 years ago. What would it have been? I would have been 15 years old. It's definitely different than that,
I mean, that puts it into perspective, though.
Yeah,
I mean, what he said. So
that's like what made it like clear for me, or not. I've been on the work grind for a little bit longer than the last year that I saw that video, but like that really opened my eyes to go, damn, it's really all about just putting one foot in front of the other, right? And that's
just being consistent. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
it's consistency.
That's this
and
podcast.
Just figuring it out. A lot of people don't want to figure shit out. When times get hard, a lot of people, they just give up. You know what I mean? But you can't have massive success. I mean, that stuff just doesn't come easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, great things don't come easy. And I see a lot of people, they have like all these different ideas and stuff, and I call them like bunny hoppers. You know what I mean? Like, one person, they'll start something, and then times get hard, and then they'll be like, oh, well, I'm gonna move over here. That seems like a better idea. And then they hit some roadblocks and some obstacles, and then they kind of give up and they start something else, and they never actually finish the race. You know what I mean? Like,
my boss at my last job was I worked at Chatter Cake, which was like an awesome job, right? And it was awesome because not only was it really in the space that I want to be in with the social media, digital media creation space, but I was able to work with who I think is one of the most talented entrepreneurs that definitely in Sioux City, and I'd put her against anybody as far as people who can teach you about life, business, tech, how this whole space works. And Beth Trejo, and something that she was always saying is, jump, whatever the task is, let's jump and then build wings on the way down. And that, like, as kind of a metaphor for like, just do it, just figure it out as you're doing.
It's the Nike sign, just do it.
Yeah.
A lot of people think too much, and they come up with these formulas and these complicated plans, to go after what they want. It's like, dude, just do it and figure it out. That's all it is. You know what I mean?
And that's like
learn along the way. I mean, especially if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's like you can't plan anything. You know what I'm saying? You got to learn as you go.
Yeah. So you mentioned Lance earlier, and I know that Lance Morgan has kind of worked as a mentor to you starting out. And do you think that like Sioux City is, because I definitely do. I definitely think that Sioux City is about as great of a place to start out as a young professional, because I think that there's guys, or in my experience, like Beth was like the ultimate mentor to have for me, and like to be able to work in the same office in the same company as her every day and like really get her perspectives and insights is what ultimately gave me the confidence to go out on my own and start Honeywave Media, really start the visual production company that I'm trying to build here. And how do you feel like Sioux City has like really helped you and Lance in general with like taking those steps as an entrepreneur, getting things built up?
Yeah, of course. I feel like Sioux City has, I have a big advantage of being in Sioux City, and it has taken me to the next level. You know, Lance Morgan, he always tells me, he says, think big. You know what I mean? And that's what I constantly do. Just always tells me, every time he comes to the restaurant, he's like, just remember, think big, think big. And so, you know, I'm thinking big, and I'm utilizing my resources and my network to be able to grow, you know, I guess my empire in a sense. And so, like I said, I feel like Sioux City is the place for me. It's the place that I need to be at and help grow. You know, just as a business owner, as a person, and I want to give back. I want to help Sioux City. There's a lot of potential here. I think there's a lot of room for leaders, for innovators, you know, for new upcoming people to just help the city grow.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast the other day with a guy named Mike Smith on it, and I think you can find him on Instagram at Mike Smith Live. And
is my mic better, by the way?
Yeah, you're good. Okay. He's from Lincoln, Nebraska, and he was kind of talking about like this general idea of he lives in Lincoln, Nebraska. He built a skate park there because he was a 26-year-old social worker working with at-risk kids, and he's like, there's nothing for these kids to do, right? Yeah. So he built a skate park that like he's like, I'm gonna make it nonprofit. And I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but I know that I want to build it. And he, you know, did it, built it, struggled, hustled to make it work, made it, you know, to pay all the bills. He was paying the bills himself on a skate park at a mall. And he was talking about just like the steps he had to do to make that work and how doing that turned into Ryan Sheckler, or he was doing like a fundraiser to build it, and the Red Bull rep in his city saw that he was doing that, and then so he got like a little 4-sentence write-up in Red Bull magazine, and from that 4-sentence write-up, Ryan Sheckler saw it. Ryan Sheckler liked the idea, wanted to go to a skate park and promote it a little bit. Yeah. Met him, loved it, you know, loved the idea, loved the concept. Then Ryan Sheckler invited him to a golf tournament. He sunk a putt for $10,000. Ryan Sheckler matched his donation of $10,000 to go back to the skate park. And like building that connection was like the first thing that really kind of catapulted to the next step. And now he's like a nationwide speaker, really doing a ton for kids in Lincoln, Nebraska specifically. Now he's got like a whole system where he's got the skate park. He's also doing like a Find Your Grind. That's a charity that started out in LA, and what they do is like they find kids who've like kind of been left behind by the system, who don't learn well in a typical classroom setting, or you know, kids who had to drop out of high school, whatever it may be, and teach them different skills and ways to make money that they don't teach you in high school. Whether it be like showing you how to use a camera to become a freelance entrepreneur as a filmmaker, whatever it may be. And he kind of teamed up with them to start that in Lincoln, Nebraska. And now he was talking about his final goal is to build an alternative high school. Like he wants to build a high school, which I don't know how the legality of that works out, but he wants to build a high school for kids to learn and figure out trades and figure out be able to go to a
movie that was kind of like that.
Yeah, I think that I don't think that's a brand new idea by any means. I think that whole concept's like been done. I know that, what do they call those in bigger cities where you can go to like an aviation high school? It's like a charter school, I believe, is the idea, where you can go to like an art high school or a performing arts high school. Yeah. Which, don't get me started on the leg up that rich people in big cities have over, you know, even rich people in big cities cannot fathom the leg up that they have over even like rich people in Sioux City. Mm-hmm. Like there's not that opportunity.
Yeah,
there's not that opportunity to go to a performing arts high school. Yeah, I spent the last 4 years of my life getting basically a Juilliard education, and now I want to go to Juilliard, and I'm a shoe-in. Meanwhile, that most talented dancer in Sioux City is working their ass off to get into Juilliard, and it's still a pie-in-the-sky reality or whatever. But so yeah, I just like thought that was the coolest thing I'd heard in a while, and the dude's living in Lincoln, Nebraska, doing that, and it was kind of like a throwback to, if you can do it in Lincoln, I think you can do it in Sioux City, and that's kind of been. I've been on that for a while now. Is when I first started basically my professional career, like the idea of being able to somehow give back to kids who were like me. I didn't do great in like a classroom setting in high school. I was pretty bright naturally, but like as far as turning in assignments on time, good luck. Because if I didn't think that it was specifically helping me do what I wanted to do in life, then it's tough to get me to care about it, right?
Yeah.
And there's like billboards in Sioux City right now that say like 1 in 4 children has a learning disability. And I really disagree with that number, because if you're saying that 25% of the population cannot learn, I think that's
how they figure that out.
Yeah, well, I think that they're saying that like if your kid's been diagnosed with ADD, which is thrown around, right? If your kid's been diagnosed with dyslexia, if they've been, I don't think that any of that. I think calling it a disorder is weird.
Yeah.
I think that if you don't learn correctly because you have attention deficit disorder and you can't sit in a classroom like this for 2 hours and listen to some teacher talk about trigonometry, I don't think that's a disorder.
Yeah.
I think that that's, you learn differently than the kid who can do that, right? So why is that kid not being taught differently? Well, I understand that it's because of budgets and because you can't just like have one teacher for every kid in a high school, and you kind of got to normalize an education to a point, right? So I do understand that, but I do think that it's a misnomer, and it does an ultimate disservice to say that that's a learning disorder. I don't agree with labeling that. From the time that a kid's in the second grade and they can't sit still, now they're in alternative learning. They're in, special education courses for the next 10 years of their life until they graduate high school. And now they don't have the confidence to go to college and get that next level of education. So it's been like something that I've been looking for a while now, is a way to be able to talk to kids or spread the message to an 18-year-old who doesn't think that college is the right move for them, but they're being told by their guidance counselor and by their parents that if they don't go to college, then they're going to fail. Yeah. Right? Finding a way to give them another chance. And, like, this dude is the first guy who I really, really offered that, what the road looks like to get there. And he basically, like, laid out super clear, like, you can help people. You can want to help people all you want, but if you haven't built that platform for yourself to be able to get out your message or be able to do it financially or with time, then you can't do it. So you have to like take that time to build that groundwork, and like you said earlier, like build an empire. Yeah. Which is like a big word for a platform, right? It's just building a platform. Foundation. Yeah. From which you can really like find the time to give back, find the possibilities to be able to make a difference for other people, whatever your cause is.
Yeah. So I feel like if you're not on this earth helping other people, you're doing the world an injustice. I'm all about giving back and stuff. So I kind of actually want to work more with different charities, local charities around Sioux City and stuff like that. I've worked a little bit with the Boys and Girls Home, but I would like to do a lot more for sure. Be a little bit more involved. Absolutely. Especially with kids. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's no shortage of opportunity. Whatever your cause is, like that exists. If I just think that it's kind of cool that if you ask kids now, what does it look like to be a successful adult? If you ask a third grader, I remember when I was growing up, and you're 3 years younger than me, so it's probably about the same. But like our concept of success was like Ferraris and mansions, right? And I think that that's kind of like left the lexicon and the like total cultural perception of what cool is. Like it's not cool to me to see a dude driving around in a Ferrari and park it in, like I guess I don't know, maybe I'm so out of touch with what is cool at this point that now I'm like, how many people did you help? Like, you can help a lot of people. If you got a Ferrari, you can do a lot of things for a lot of people. It's cool to have a cool car. But if you have a cool car at the expense of not being able to, like, give back to the world, then that's not a cool car anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I guess it's all relative. Like, it's just fine to me that Bill Gates lives in a $20 million mansion. Meanwhile, the dude's,
you got people on the streets,
Yeah.
Hungry and stuff, and
Yeah.
don't have a home.
Yeah, and that's kind of
Doesn't
like...
make sense.
It's cool, too, to live in Sioux City, where I think that there is, like, a really big emphasis on, like, finding the right way, making sure that there is a way to give back. And Sioux City's pretty good about taking care of, like, homeless populations, which we have a minimal homeless population in the first place, but being able to, like, have the warming shelter set up for a day like today where it's -2 degrees. And speaking of which, if you're listening to the audio and you're like, why don't they turn off the fans in the room and all those heaters that we keep hearing kicking on? Yeah, you can hear it. And it's definitely because it's -2 degrees outside, so I'm not going to sit here in the cold. We did that with my sister and Evan were in here the other day, and we kept we turned down the heat to 50 degrees.
Yeah.
Like, I hope that it would... take forever, and it would still be 70 degrees it was definitely 50 degrees solid when we ended the podcast, so we were both freezing. And
Dude, this weather is killing me, I swear.
it's unbelievable. And
Negative. It's like, but every year it's like a shocker. Even though you go through it every single year, it still is like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Why is it so cold?
Every year, and then when it's the warm week, like, it was 70 degrees one day, and towards the end of December,
Bipolar,
mid-December,
man.
and everybody's like, well, global warming, and it's like, can we all acknowledge that sometimes it's colder than hell too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, but it's up and down, right? Did you see Donald Trump tweeted today? Or I think it was today or yesterday or something like that. Like, yeah, it's -15 degrees right now in New Hampshire, record cold. Tell that to the global warming. It's like, that's not how science works, Mr. President. But sure.
Yeah.
We can,
You believe in global warming?
I believe in global climate change, climate weirdness.
I mean, there is something happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't ever remember winter being this dry. You know what I mean? I always felt like right now it should be like 10 inches of snow or something. I just remember it would snow all the time when I was younger, and it's just it's changed.
Yeah.
I mean, something's going on, so
Absolutely.
I'm not quite sure what it is.
Yeah, I think that, like, I don't even know what the answer looks like, because I saw some the other day that was about, there's the perception that if you drive a Prius or a Tesla or whatever, like, oh, you're doing great for the environment, but, like, lithium mines are just, like, wrecking the environment of wherever they're mining it at.
Yeah.
And it's like the environmental cost of mining the lithium for all the batteries, and then not only that, but now you got to burn coal to power the electricity plants that are getting the electricity in that car every day. It's like, starting to question the long-term net change on the environment. Like, are you really doing a lot better for the environment if you're running your car off of lithium rather than gasoline? Which, I'm not a scientist.
I think it's like a yes or no.
I'm a pretty big moron, so I can't really speak to it in terms of science.
I have no idea about that stuff.
No, and that's the problem, is that there's so much misinformation that you can spin facts to look no matter how you...
You can't believe the news anymore. Fake news, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
The fake news.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. It's a wild time to, like, I'm 27, so, like, trying to really become a responsible citizen and know what's going on politically, both locally and on a macro scale. And I am astonished at the childishness of all parties involved in the political landscape. It is shocking.
Yeah.
Do you pay attention to that stuff at all?
Dude, I don't.
Oh,
I
man.
don't watch TV. I don't play video games. I rarely watch movies. Like, literally, I work.
Yeah.
I work.
Yeah.
I spend time with my daughter, and I mean, honestly, I'm just so focused on success, you know. And success means, different things for different people and stuff. But I want to be financially secure. My main focus is just really making sure my daughter's okay. She's able to go to college. If something were to happen to me, she's gonna be well off.
Yeah.
So, like, I kind of live a boring life, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to anything. Like, I'm just so lasered focused that I don't look left, I don't look right. I just keep, like you were saying, put one step in front of the other and keep looking forward, and just pretty much all I do.
Well, here's a warning.
Really?
don't start looking into politics if you don't
No,
want to ruin
it's-
your day.
Well, I mean,
It
I
is-
just think it doesn't make sense. It's like you
Yeah.
have two opposite parties. Like, how are you? I mean, whoever created that concept, and I get why they did it, but it just doesn't make sense. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they're
It's
all-
like defense and offense. You know, how are you supposed to get along?
it's a good way to divide everybody and for the same
it's
end
gonna be
goal
like
at all
that.
times.
We need to change something. I mean, the way our government's set up, it's too big, and
yeah.
it's just not even worth getting into that. When people just bicker back and forth, I'm like, oh my gosh,
Have you?
be quiet.
God, I don't even want to. Okay, so Steve King, the congressman from
Yeah.
Northwest Iowa, covers our region, has effectively turned his Facebook account into just a breeding ground for the most vile forms of racism. And
Really, I haven't checked it out.
oh my God, it's unbelievable. Well, so first of all, I was on there and one I really took big issue with was he posted this like meme that was like some about snowflake liberals and whatever, and like you see what we have to deal with from the liberals, and it was like, hold on, time out. I understand that you're Republican congressman, right? I understand that. I also understand that there are people in your congressional district that disagree with you, that are Democrats and lean left, and they're going to fundamentally disagree with everything you can do as a congressman because you're a Republican, right? And you represent everything that they hate in government, which most of the district is not like that. A lot of the district is going to be Republican, and then an even larger amount is going to be somewhere in the middle that aren't going to fundamentally disagree with everything you do, right?
Yeah.
And then I just had a problem with the idea that as a congressman, I have to deal with the Democrats in my district. It's like, wait, hold on. If I cast a vote for anybody, I want them to work as hard for me as they do for my neighbor who disagrees with me politically, right?
Yeah.
Like I want your main focus is
supposed to be
building
for
a
the
better
people.
life
Yeah.
for everybody here because number one, jackass, we pay your salary. It's
Yeah.
like number two, saying that you're like working against anybody is like so far against what an elected representative or a political or a public servant in the first place is supposed to be doing. It's disgusting. And then today, like, the Steve King account on Facebook, which is the official Steve King political account, tweeted or shared, we can call it on Facebook, shared a video that was like a proposed border wall for the Mexico-American border, which unbelievable. And which somehow now the Republican Party, who's against tax dollars, is pro the $15 billion wall on the border. So cool, great. And Steve King's account reshared a video that was like talking about like in their comment section, we're saying like, yeah, if we catch anybody going across the border, we should make them do 30 days of hard labor building this wall, and then we'll throw them off the top. And it's like, what?
That's kind of crazy. I
Wait, what?
didn't hear about that one. That was recent, huh?
Yeah, and it's daily. I mean, just you shouldn't concern yourself with it.
Yeah,
I do.
I'm listening. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I'm having
like,
a
I would go
meltdown
nuts.
at
Yeah.
like the breeding ground of like the most vile forms of racism. And the thing that I've learned is that if you concern yourself, I'm saying yourself, but if I concern myself with my day to day, the people I know, the people I see, the people I talk to, my friends and my family, right?
Yeah.
And
It's colder than shit in here today.
right, it is falling apart. If I treat everybody the exact way I want to be treated, then I don't see these awful things that they're talking about on the news every day. Like, and every day I'm interacting with people of different races, different sexes, different political parties, and nobody treats each other awfully. If I go to the Mexican restaurant down the street and I'm the only white guy in the restaurant, like, I don't see like everything that people are talking about on the news of like, oh, the immigrants are coming into our country. I never see that. So I'm just like trying to focus down as much as possible in my life and like only concern myself with what I see in my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And if like anything starts spiraling out of control, then I want to address it.
Yeah,
but if it doesn't concern me, maybe that's the problem with having the internet, is that I'm too aware of what's going on in Portland, Oregon today. That I see something awful going on in the news and it's like, oh, that affects my life, but it really doesn't. It doesn't affect me. And trying to move into that direction as much as possible to not let the news stress me out. Do you find yourself looking at Facebook and pissed off day to day at all? Just
No.
too much family and business, huh?
Huh?
Family and business, right?
Yeah, just family and business, man.
Huh.
To be honest.
Yeah, that's one of my goals for 2018. I don't know how I write that down and how I really make the goal or not, but like chill on the social media scrolling.
Yeah.
Just use it to promote the business, the brand,
So,
keep in touch with family. And
I mean,
friends.
like, what are your goals for 2018?
I just want to, number one, this is coming out the first week of 2018, which is next week.
Yeah.
So the whole podcast, I had been putting it off, wanted the set to be perfect, wanted the sound setup to be perfect. And finally, I just stopped putting it off and was like, all right, or January 1st, I'm coming out the first episode. And I'm not a New Year's resolutions kind of guy. I'm, really put in the effort all year round. Like if you say you're going to do something for a year, usually you're done by week 2. And
it's just like everyone going to the gym.
Yeah.
There's going to be, you're going to see all these people coming from the woodwork saying, okay, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to lose weight after the first month or a couple weeks.
Definitely by Valentine's Day, they're done.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Game over.
So the whole thing is like, it's not a New Year's resolution, but it's definitely, I just wanted to create a date. And January 1st seemed like as good of a date as any to go, damn it, I'm putting it out.
Mm-hmm.
So that created a whole cascade of things that I needed to get done. So I've been working on the website, making sure that that's ready to go, making sure that all of my social media pages are ready to go for Honeywave Media as it comes out and things start releasing. And I've been working on projects for a while. I got 5 video projects probably already ready to release. They are edited on the hard drive, ready to go out. And so really finding what Honeywave Media's original content is going to be is something that I really want to get nailed down, and I really want to figure it out. And that's like what we were talking about earlier with like just making positive forward progress is going to be number one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been tough for me to like figure out goals. Like number one, my goal is to put out a piece of original content every week. But as far as setting goals as to like how many shows I want, what do I want guests to look like, what do I want, I feel like it'd be doing me a disservice to like really write down anything and make it a hard number or a hard goal, because I don't know what this is yet, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind
of, it kind of goes back to what I was, telling you.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard to be so specific.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Especially in your goals. Just have like a skeleton, an outline of it. So.
And like as far as financially, like my goals are so far not rooted in money. Like if I was gonna write a goal, it'd be like, can I pay my bills every month? Check. Okay, good. There's that goal's taken care of, right? So like really figuring out what I want. I want to build something that I'm proud of creatively before I really start worrying how to monetize it.
Yeah.
Because I think that if I go into this with the intention of going, I want my podcast to generate X amount of dollars in revenue on a monthly basis. Then I'm going to start
It never goes accordingly, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like here's the thing, like if you're passionate about what you do and you're excited, the money will come along some way or another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's truly what, so I'll just keep doing you,
And
keep
really
doing your thing.
The only way to turn like a passion project or, a creative endeavor into something that really works financially is to do something that's authentic to you. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not doing something that's authentic to you, then it's easily replicatable. Like if I'm putting on an act and I'm trying to make what I see on TV, then TV can do it. They have the budget to make it bigger and better than what I'm doing if I'm trying to be like them.
Yeah.
But they can't replicate me and what I'm doing authentically for myself, right? Whether or not people tune into that, which, if you're still hanging into the podcast at this point, thank you very much. I promise to keep getting better at this. But yeah, it's just trying to figure out what exactly I want this whole project to look like. I do know that I want to make it Sioux City focused.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's so much cool shit going on in Sioux City that
I know. I
being
see, I
covered.
see that in you. You have a lot of belief, and you have vision for Sioux City and stuff, and it's really really cool to see that.
Whether or not that's reasonable or not is yet to be
Yeah.
seen. But yeah, hopefully I'm gonna be able to do all I can. And I've like really found myself lately, trying to maintain complete creative control over what I'm doing. For the longest time, I was trying to team up with, like I want graphic designers on my team. I want but like.
Baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps. And that's exactly it. It's like, rather than try and like rely on other people to work, for free or, on like
Exactly.
small payments is all I'm really able to afford while I'm building this. Like I taught myself graphic design, and whether or not it sucks or not, but it's exactly what I want it to look like. That's for sure. So,
Sometimes when you come out of the gate, too big, it can collapse on you. You know what I mean? So you're doing the right thing. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Be
Yeah,
patient,
definitely.
take baby steps, and just keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
And eventually you'll be able to, hire someone as a graphic designer and audio, producer and stuff like that.
Yeah. Hopefully,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what's next for you? What's when's the new food truck? When can we expect that summer?
Yep. Oh, it's gonna, for sure. It's gonna be up and running before the beginning of summer, before Food Truck Friday. I actually have a lot of stuff planned for 2018. Right now, I'm working with a commercial agent, and we're trying to look for a location to put a business in. I don't know if it's going to be a Daga's yet, but right now we're looking at one location downtown in Sioux City. It might be like a tequila bar / taqueria,
sick.
but I mean, I got a lot of stuff planned for 2018, man.
Kicking around ideas.
And
man.
yeah, I'm really excited for Food Truck Friday. I think it's going to be bigger than ever, and that whole event just exploded.
That's
It's
so
just
cool,
crazy
right?
to see how much it's grown. I remember when I first started the taco truck. I was just brand new into the food truck industry. I remember I got a phone call from Sarah Fish.
Yep.
You know who that is. And, she called me up. She's like, hey, I saw your food truck. It was at the Ho Chung Center in downtown. And she's like, we're kind of thinking of this idea of Food Truck Friday. We want to know if you want to be interested in it. And so I was like, heck yeah, an opportunity, a good way to network with people. And I knew she was with Downtown Partners. So, it'd be a good door to put, my foot in. And so, we started Food Truck Fridays. And I was actually one of the first 2 people to do that. It was just me and another person from Yankton, South Dakota. I think their food truck was called Delicious Depot. And, there was about 40 people at that first Food Truck Friday.
Right behind
and then,
the old KCIU, right over there. Right?
Yeah. And then the second Food Truck Friday, there's maybe about 100, and it's just grown to over 1,500 people in attendance. And there's over, 14, 15 food trucks at once now. So
Yeah.
it's just awesome to see it blossom.
Yeah, it's
You know what I mean?
awesome blossom, yeah.
And I feel like it's definitely, for us, because, at Food Truck Friday, I mean, our line is ridiculously crazy.
yeah.
Like, crazy. I mean, it's goes almost down the whole freaking block. And I feel like a lot of that, had to do with, well, one, our food's delicious. But I think just being one of the first original food trucks, the first season, I think really just helped us establish that, original.
Yeah. And a lot of credit for that whole event, and even having that platform goes from like
huge
Sarah
platform.
Fish and like Sam and Downtown Partners, like even like having that idea to like make something there, right? Because that's something that didn't exist before. Like a few dedicated people had the idea and then reached out to you, and you take a chance and show up and say, "I'll do it," and that's like being able to build things is just the dopest thing in the world, really.
And I think it's really cool because it is helping, Sioux City and local business owners be able to put their dishes and the unique, authentic food out there, and help small business owners be able to grow, and maybe get to the next level. So it's definitely helped me, obviously. I made tremendous money with the taco truck. I bought another food truck, and I feel like there's a lot of money to be made in the food truck scene. And I feel like now people are just all about food trucks in Sioux City. And I just have it in my head. It's like, hey, look, if it's not me, it's going to be somebody else that, monopolizes on the whole food truck game. So that's why I'm just pushing it, man.
Yeah.
And there's
Awesome.
a lot of money to be made.
Well, sick. I'm super excited to see what's next. I'm super excited to see how Dagas continues to expand, grow, whatever the course may be. Do you have anything you want to end with? I think we can probably shut this down, wrap it up.
Shit, I don't know. Do you?
No, it's
I'm good.
I'm ready to go.
I'm good.
All right. Thank you if you listened this long. It's been great having my man Tyson here in the studio talking about what he's got going on. He's super inspirational to me, and I've always kind of looked up to him as an entrepreneur. So it's great having him here, and hopefully we can keep having a mix of guests on this show that provide a little bit of different perspective from week to week or episode to episode on what's going on in Sioux City. And I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.
See you later.